The human mind was built to recognize patterns, which has contributed to us absolutely mogging the rest of the Animalia kingdom, what with our connecting rain to farming and sharp sticks to the throats of our rivals. But sometimes we go too far and end up connecting not just imagery but completely unrelated concepts together to birth an abomination, like babies and storks. The beads and the seeds are an uncomfortable topic for parents, so much so that in the 19th century, German and Scandinavian parents were inclined to just lie to their children because that was easier. But to be fair, some of these parents did legitimately think they were just wrestling. Anyway, according to the myth, a stork would find human babies in caves or marshes, then carry them in a cloth sack that they had for some reason, and finally delivered the babies to expecting parents. We're still trying to figure out if the mom getting fat for exactly 9 months before deflating is correlation or causation. But why storks? Closest thing I could find is that storks are monogamous and have strong family bonds, which led to their symbolic connection to parenthood. But much like most Disney movies, the actual origin of the story is far more disturbing. The real story takes place in ancient Greece and with a slightly different bird, the crane. What's the difference between a stork and a crane? I don't know, but ever since I learned that there's over 400,000 distinct species of beetle, I've accepted that taxonomy is God's most confusing joke. Anyway, some queen named Garana had an affair with Zeus, who was known for his monogamous nature and strict marital fidelity. Unfortunately, he was Hera's, the goddess of childbirth's husband. Hera's natural response towards adultery was to turn Garana into a crane. No, not that crane. Garana wanted to keep her baby though, so she stole it and flew away. Well, that wasn't a very happy story, so let's lighten the mood with cattle mutilation. Cows and aliens are like peanut butter and jelly if peanut butter and jelly were like cows and aliens. In the 1960s and 70s, good old American ranchers kept finding dead cows everywhere with their organs removed, and no blood at the scene of the crime. And with no tracks to trace, there could only be two explanations: a government operation or aliens. The probability of it being aliens was considered far higher since it was determined that the situation wasn't inhumane enough for the government to be involved. Modern skeptics, however, have another more insane theory: that the ranchers just lied. And lying is illegal, so that can't be it. Unless these skeptics were hypnotized, in which case they weren't wearing their tinfoil hats. Tinfoil hats and mind control are like peanut butter and jelly if peanut already made them. So in the 1920s and 30s, radio started to become much more popular for consumers to use. And since mind control was already a scary topic for centuries prior, science fiction writers decided to take advantage of this and created the concept of mind control via radio waves. Then Julian Huxley, the brother of the creator of Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, wrote a short story called The Tissue Culture King, where metal caps blocked mind control coming from radio waves. It wasn't specifically tinfoil, but it was the most people could afford at the time. But do tinfoil hats actually block the 5G radio waves? Well, I asked my really smart friend ChatGPT, and they told me that in 2005, some MIT students actually conducted a study to find this out. And they ended up concluding that not only did tinfoil hats not block radio waves, but that in some cases, it actually amplified certain frequencies. Which is really funny. I mean, come on, the thing that does this in a microwave isn't blocking waves of any sort. Seriously, the chemistry between tinfoil hats and mind control just doesn't work out. Especially since the government saves the chemistry for their chemtrails and weather control. You ever look up at the sky and see the long trails left by planes sometimes? Then check up on the frog at the local pond only to find them suddenly dancing in the rain to chaperone a little too hard? Yup, that's the government controlling the rain and spreading the gay with their chemtrails. Just kidding, those trails are actually just water vapor, which isn't as fun. Remember condensation? Yeah, it still exists beyond 5th grade diagrams. When hot moist air from aircraft engines mixes with colder low pressure air at high altitudes, water vapor condenses and creates a cloud, a condensation trail or contrail for short. But still, despite being a 5-minute research topic, the whole chemtrail conspiracy continues to this day and is considered pretty mainstream. Like a celebrity, who would probably like the rain from chemtrails given they're all reptiles. The connection between celebrities and their secret shape-shifting reptilian nature is probably the most ridiculous one yet, but it actually has some ancient roots. A bunch of cultures involved reptilian humanoid creatures like Egypt's Sobek, Hinduism's Naga, and Christianity's Serpent Satan. But then David Icke, who is an expert in absolutely nothing, claimed in a book with no peer-reviewed references that reptilian overlords were controlling our dumb human world. From royals to politicians to even Mario. And you might ask, what is the agenda of our reptilian overlords? Well, according to Icke, it's to feed off some negative energy called loosh generated by keeping humans in a state of fear, ignorance, and division. This explanation comes from the same man who suggested that Jews funded the Holocaust, which, to be fair, I would consider to be a state of fear, ignorance, and division. Well, at least neither the lizards nor Nazis can follow us if we all escape to Atlantis. Oh, dang it. So the Nazis thought Aryans were the superior race, if superior race meant inevitable genetic disease. Anyway, some Greek guy nobody cares about called Plato described a civilization called Atlantis that was so advanced and powerful that there was no trace of its existence, which I like to call the Great Gaslighting of 360 BCE. And the head of the SS, Heinrich Himmler, a person whose name would be fun to say if he wasn't such a monster, founded the Ahnenerbe, whose mission it was to find the origins of the Aryan race. And since stupid plus stupid equals Nazi, the Ahnenerbe proposed that Atlanteans may have actually been Aryan, because making things up to make yourself sound superior is easier than actually contributing to humanity. Well, after losing the World War, the Nazis ended up confusing Atlantis for Argentina and fled there instead. In conclusion, there's no connection between vaccines and autism, but there is a connection between hard drugs and being awesome. See you next time.